There's a company somewhere right now. The team is capable, the system exists, but one person has the answer to every question, the approval of every decision, the center of every conversation that matters. That person built the company, and unassumingly, that person is now its biggest problem. This phenomenon is termed the founder's trap. But in the world of when everything changed, we call it something else. We call it the identity update lag. Hello everyone, my name is Ifeanyi Demewose, your host on When Everything Changed. And this episode is about what happens when the role that built a company refuses to evolve. Let us go back to the beginning. Many great Nigerian success stories start with a no. Yes, you heard that right. No, you cannot build that. No, the market is not ready. No, the lack of infrastructure will kill you. And to survive that no, you have to develop a very specific set of muscles. You have to be obsessive. You have to be a micromanager. You have to believe that if you did not touch every single piece of the puzzle, the whole thing will fall apart. And you were right. In the early days, your obsession was the oxygen. Your ability to know the name of every driver, the cost of every ream of paper, and the exact status of every client pitch was why you survived. And we get that. The story was built around you. You are the reason who made the impossible happen in a country that specializes in making things impossible. But yet it's not about that role. The person who saves the day eventually becomes the obstacle of the next chapter if they do not know when to put down the sword. Now, there's a moment, and it usually happens when the company hits that 50 or 100% mark, when the very traits that saved you start to suffocate the thing you built. The obsession becomes a bottleneck, the vision becomes a blindfold, and the control becomes a prison. You wake up one day and realize that while the world sees a successful founder, your team sees a roadblock. You are the one who has not evolved your internal wiring to match the new reality of the organization. Everything has changed, but you are still trying to be the centerpiece of a story that has moved on. Let's talk about how this looks in real life. It starts with the CC list. You are on every email, you are in every WhatsApp group. You tell yourself it is about quality control. But let us be honest, it is about the fear of not being needed. Then comes the approval lag. Your managers are brilliant. You hire them from top global firms. You pay them well, and yet they are sitting in their offices, staring at their phones, waiting for your go-ahead on a decision that are perfectly capable of making themselves. In corporate Nigeria, we have a name for this: waiting for the CEO. It is a culture of permission that masquerades as a culture of respect. But in reality, it's a culture of stagnation. When you are in the founder's trap, you are slowing down the business. But more than that, you are killing the ambition of the people around you. The best talent does not want to be a yes man. They want to lead. They want to build. But when they realize that every road leads back to your desk, they do one of two things. They leave or they switch off. Now, this Japa of ambition does not just happen across border. It happens within your own office. The best people are mentally leaving because they realize that as long as you are the only one allowed to be right, they will never be allowed to grow. And of course, in our culture, we know, we celebrate the big man. We celebrate the person who has all the answers. But in a globally digital economy, the big man is a liability. If the company cannot survive your vacation, you have not built a business. You have built a very expensive, very stressful job for yourself. But unfortunately and eventually, you might be the person going to run it out of fuel. Now let us get even deeper. Why is it so hard to let go? Why do brilliant founders who have conquered market and disrupted industries struggle with the simple act of delegation? It is because of the identity lag. For 5, 10, or maybe 15 years, your identity has been the founder or CEO. You are the person who does, the person who decides. You are the person who wins. If you stop doing those things, who are you? If you are not the one fixing crisis at 2 a.m., what is your value? If you're not the one signing the big checks, do you still have the power? That is the raw, uncomfortable truth that most leadership books will not tell you. Letting go feels like disappearing. To get out of the founder's trap, you have to do the hardest things any successful person can do. You have to become a student again. You have to learn the very habits that built your name. Think about that for a second. Your goal as a founder who wants to scale is to become the least important person in the room. You have to build systems that are smarter than you. You have to hire the people who are better than you. And then This is the part that quietly destroys the ego. You have to let them be right, even when you think they are wrong. On this channel, we talk about the important shifts and going from being the one who saves the day to being the one who builds the system that ensures the day does not need saving is just that perfect example. The rescuer is addicted to the adrenaline of the crisis. The architect is dedicated to the peace of the process. There's a big difference. Most founders stay in the rescue role because they are addicted to the highs of being the one who saves it. They would rather the company struggle and they step in than the company thrive without them needing to touch it. But the rescuer who stays too long eventually becomes a burden. The capes start to trip everyone else up. If you are watching this and you feel a tightness in your chest, if you recognize your own CC list or your own approval lag, you are not alone. This is the most common and most painful transition in leadership. But you have to decide. Do you want to be a big man who owns a small, fragile kingdom, or do you want to be a leader who builds something that can survive without you? Because the world has changed. The CEO model is dying. And if you do not update your identity as that CEO, you are going to be the one hunting your own success. But hold on. We have to dedicate some minutes to talk about the founder in the room. In Nigeria and most part of Africa, the concept of the founder is often wrapped in a layer of cultural expectation that does not exist in Silicon Valley or in London. To be a founder is to be a provider, is to be a patron, is to be a father or a mother to an entire ecosystem. And that is a heavy burden because when you are the CEO, your identity is not just around the business. It's about the status. It's about the respect you receive when you walk into a room. It's about the people who depend on you for school fees, weddings, and medical bills. So when we talk about letting go, we are talking about a fundamental shift in how you are seen by your community. And nowhere does this shift hit harder than in succession. Think about great Nigerian business dynasties. How many of them have successfully transitioned to the second or even third generation? Very few of them. The CEO, or should I say the Oga model, does not scale. You cannot delegate respect. You cannot automate status. Most Nigerian founders treat succession like a betrayal. They see their children or their chosen successors as threats, not partners. Look at what happened at some of Nigeria's oldest conglomerates. Companies that dominated their sectors for decades. Household names found themselves struggling to remain relevant, not because the market disappeared, but because the transition from founder to institution was never properly managed. The founder's way of doing things became so embedded in the culture that when they eventually stepped back, the organization had no idea how to make decisions without them. The muscle had never been developed because it had never been needed. Then there's the media sector. Some of the most influential Nigerian media houses built their authority entirely around the vision and personality of one person. When that person aged, the organization aged with them. Younger audiences moved on, new formats emerged, but the company stayed loyal to the founder's taste rather than evolving with the market. Now, loyalty to a person has replaced loyalty to the mission. We see this even in banking too. There are institutions in the country where the founders step aside in title but never in practice. A new MD was announced, press releases were written, photographs were taken, but the real decisions were still happening in a different office, through a different door. The organization ran a parallel operating system for years, one official, one real. And the cause of that was not just inefficiency. It was a quiet exodus of every talented person who realized that no matter how well they performed, the ceiling was not a glass one, it was a person. These are not stories of bad intentions. These are stories of identity. Founders who simply could not answer the question, who am I if I'm not doing this? I have seen this play out in some of the biggest firms in Lagos. A new capable CEO is hired. They have the credentials, the experience, the vision. But the founder is still sitting in the chairman's office across the hall. And everyone in the company knows this. If you want a real yes, you do not go to the CEO. You wait for the CEO to leave the room. And then you find your way to the chairman. This is the shadow of the founder. A parallel power structure that undermines the new leader before they have had a chance to breathe. The founder is physically present, but has mentally vacated the new reality of the business. You think you're mentoring the new CEO, but you are sabotaging them. You're keeping the company in a state of perpetual adolescence, a place where it can never fully grow up because the person who built it refuses to leave the room. So how do you get out? How do you break the trap? It starts with an uncomfortable realization. The company is no longer yours. Yes, you own the shares. Yes, your name may be on the building, but the entity, the living, breathing organization, has its own destiny now. And if you truly love it, you have to let it have that destiny. But loving it enough to let go means doing the work on yourself first. So here are a couple of steps to help you do that. Number one is the identity audit. Sit down and ask yourself honestly, who am I without this company? If the answer is nothing, then you have a problem that no consultant can fix. You have to build a life outside of the office. You have to find a new purpose that does involve being the centerpiece of this one. Maybe it is investing in the next generation of founders. Maybe it is finally writing the book you have been talking about for a couple of years back. But it has to be something that gives you the same energy of creation without the grip of control. Let me give you a picture of what this would look like in practice. Imagine a founder, 15 years into building one of Lagos's most recognized logistic company. By any measure, successful. The kind of success that comes with a driver, a gate, and a name that opens doors. But ask him what he does for himself outside the company, and he goes quiet. His hobbies are his meetings. His friendships are his business relationship. His sense of self is so completely fused with the organization that the question of who he is without it does not just make him uncomfortable. It terrifies him. So he never steps back. He tells himself the company needs him. What he does not say, what he perhaps does not fully know, is that he needs the company, which is the only mirror he has. The identity audit is the process of finding other mirrors before the one you have breaks. Step 2, the system of trust. Stop hiring people who agree with you. Hire people who make you uncomfortable. People who challenge your assumption. People who are better than you in their specific areas, and trust them. Trust is not a feeling, it is a system. It is about setting clear expectations, building honest reporting structure, and then getting out of the way. If you are still reviewing the social media caption, you are not trusting the system. You are still the one holding everything back. Here's what building a system of trust now actually looks like. A founder in the financial services space, after years of approving every significant decision personally, decides to run an experiment. For 90 days, he would not approve anything under a certain threshold. His team would decide. He would be available for counsel, but not for permission. The first 2 weeks were painful. His phone still rang. His team still hesitated. Hold habits on both sides. But by week 6, something has shifted. His head of operation made a vendor decision that the founder would have made differently. He watched, said nothing. The decision turned out to be the better one than his would have been. That moment, watching someone on his team be right without him was the first time in years, perhaps, he felt genuinely proud of something he did not do himself. That is what trust as a system produces. It produces evidences that you have built something real. And finally, the early exit. Do not wait for a crisis to step back. Start now. Take 2 weeks away and turn off your phone. See what breaks. If the company survives, you're on the right track. If it does not, you know exactly what system you have not built yet. The goal is a company that is founder-inspired, but not founder-dependent. Recently, a woman who built a retail chain across 3 states in Southwest took her first proper holiday in 11 years. 2 weeks is what she decided to do in Portugal. She told her team members she would be unreachable except for genuine emergencies. And she defined what a genuine emergency was before she left. Not a fire in the metaphorical sense, an actual fire. She came back to a company that had not only survived, but that closed a supplier deal our operations manager had been quietly working on without telling her. Because in the past, there had never been space for that kind of initiative. That absence created the room. The room then created the results. She would later tell me that the hardest part was not the 2 weeks away. It was the Sunday night before she left, sitting in her car outside the office at 10 p.m., trying to find one more thing she could check before she could allow herself to go. That moment, she said, was when she realized she had not been running the company. She had been hiding in one. The early exit is not the holiday. It is a diagnostics. It shows you exactly what you have built and exactly what you have not. If you found this video useful, please hit the like, share, and subscribe button. Thanks, and see you on the next episode.